Hi guys, and welcome back to the Heroes of Boredom YouTube channel. Today what I want to do is I want to create a handle for my DSLR camera. Now I've been filming in kind of vlogging mode lately a lot, just because I got a new camera and it's a little bit more convenient for that, but it's a little bit awkward to hold the camera steadily without a handle to it. So what I want to do is I want to take and I want to make a mount that will hook up to the 1/4-20 thread on the base of the camera so that I can have a handle to more steadily shoot video. So we're going to do that today using a little bit of 3D printing. So let's get to it. Alright, so here we have everything set up in 123D Design. This is where I do most of my more simplistic modeling for, basic 3D prints. So what I did was I took and I made this little sketch right here. So this is pretty much just using your basic sketch tool to create a shape. So I think I used polyline, and so I just took and I drew, whatever I wanted to, and boom, it was a shape. So that's how that works. Oop, didn't want to do that. So that's how that all worked out. No, I just want to delete it. Go away. There you go. Okay. So I made this basic shape right here. And so what I did was I took and I measured my my hardware here, and I figured out that I wanted it to be able to fit a it's about a 5-inch bolt. And so what I did was I marked where I would want my my thread to start hooking into the camera. So I marked that and I measured that out, and pretty much that's how I got the width of this piece right here. I figured that would be a good size for my hand, and that's what's going to work for me. To get the hole in the middle, what I did was I used this hole you could see down here, this circle I made, and I extruded that through the object, and that circle is the size of my bolt. So that's what it needs to be to fit through that successfully. And then again, I measured the nut to generate this using this guy right here. So this is a sketch polygon, and so when you want to make these, you can control using this number that controls the amount of edges you got. So I can make it, a pentagon, an octagon, what have you, just by modifying that number. And then this other number over here, the one that's changing as I make it bigger or smaller, that is your radius. So like I said, you want to measure the nut that you have and then cut your measurement in half to get your radius. So whatever that is what you're going to want this one to be right here. And again, this probably isn't a necessary step. You could probably get away with not having that. It's just I want it to be there for when I take the handle on and off. That way the hardware is not falling out. It still stays one solid piece. So that's the point of that for me. So this circle on the edge is another probably unnecessary thing that I did, but I took and I measured out the washer that I'm going to be using. So the washer right there, and I decided that I wanted to make an indent so that the washer laid flush within the base of it. So pretty much when the hardware is in there, the only thing that's going to be coming out the bottom is this guy right here, the head of the bolt. So you see that. So that's going to be the only thing sticking out of the base. The washer will lay flush. And then even if I wanted to, you could take and you can measure the base, the head of the bolt, and you could create something that you could actually stick on there that'll, be held on by that little head right there, and you could even glue it if you wanted to go that far. But I don't think that that's necessary. Pretty much everything I have here meets the requirements of what I want to build. And I pretty much what I did was I sketched, I extruded it to what I wanted it to be. I think I started off with 1 inch Actually, I think an inch is exactly about what I did, maybe a little bit more. So I extruded it, I took it, and I moved it up so that I could do other stuff to it. Originally, I rotated it at 90, and I had it on the base to position my hole. I extruded everything through it to generate my holes, and then to finish it off and make it so it wasn't just this rectangle thing in my hand, because you want it to fit to the contours of your hand. You want it to be comfortable. So then I took and I did the fillet or whatever the heck you want to call it. Everybody calls it something different. I selected these edges and I put the rounded corners on them. So I did like that. So actually, I think I also selected those other corners. But yeah, pretty much I did everything you see. I just kind of filleted it down so that every edge was rounded and it'll have a nice fit in my hand. So now what you do once you have a 3D model like this ready for printing is you take it, and you can't see it because my camera is covering up, but there's a menu over here that it's just a drop down, and so there's options in there. You want to select export for 3D, and then you want to create an STL, and then this menu will come up and it'll be like, you know, coarse, medium, fine. I always do fine, and I probably waste more material this way, but when I get it right, it's perfect. So I do my fine, and it gives me a nice smooth model. Here is a version 1 of my grip, and as a yeah, see that. So here's a version 1 of my grip, and as a rule of thumb, as I make iterations in different versions, I like to do version 1, version 2. That way, when I make new files, no file is lost. So I'm just going to save that, and that makes my, yeah, hung up a little bit. And that'll make my STL file, and we are going to use that, and we are going to move that onto the SD card, because I do not like to use a constant connection for my 3D printer. I like to just pop in the SD card. That way I don't have to run any cable or anything. It's just a little bit easier. So now that we have that done, we are going to take and export and slice our 3D model so that we can get it ready to print. So my printer is the Dremel Idea Builder, and it is a little proprietary. I'm pretty sure that you can flash it and probably modify the firmware on there to use other stuff, but Dremel likes to use their own tools and stuff. So we're just gonna go along with that because it's what I do. I don't really feel like it's necessary to put anything custom on there. Alright, so now we have our 3D print on our slicer and ready to go. And what we are going to do is just kind of take and orient it a little bit. So what I like to do is I like to have things more so on the width of the bed. So rotate that 90 degrees, and that'll be set up like that. I'm going to print it in this orientation just because it's probably the easiest way to print it without having things mess up, because I put this this little edge on the base, so I'm not going to want to print it on that edge, and I have my hexagon here, so I'm not going to want to print it on that edge because there's going to be overhangs. And in my opinion, using support material has never ever really worked out well for me. Most of the times I feel like I'm just wasting filament, and it ends up getting knocked off and just cluttering up the bottom of my printer, and I have to go in there and clean it out. So I really don't bother with support material. The way I 3D model and 3D print is I try to design things in a way that orient themselves without the need for support material. So printing on the side, everything should come out fine. So we're just going to go along with that. So go to build. I do the high settings pretty much like I said every time I print. And unless it's a design that I'm really not sure if it's going to work out, I might do like the really low settings, but almost every time I do high settings. So I usually just roll with the default. I find that everything is pretty much fine for the way I use my prints. So I don't feel like anything needs to really be tweaked here. So we're just gonna go okay and build this out. So do that, and it'll slice it. It's got the indicators up here, and boom, everything's ready to go. So you come over here, there's this slider, and you kind of look layer by layer how everything's gonna work out. So it'll be fine. I'm pretty sure it'll print just fine, and I'm saying fine a lot. So yeah, we will come back once this has printed up, and we'll take a look how everything turned out. And yeah. Okay, so here we are, a day later. It took about 3 hours for that 3D file to print, and have the final product right here. So this is my D3200, and you can see the handle is on it. So this handle is less than perfect. It, for one, I don't know if you can see, the nut is not exactly flush the way I designed it, and a lot of that has to do with tolerances, like I was saying earlier. It's kind of flush on this side, but it's not flush on this side, so that's less than perfect. And then so it just kind of screws on. And this could be adjusted probably with the use of washers and whatnot. And you can see here the bolt head, the nut is in there. It was less than perfect. It didn't slide in as easily as I would like to. What I actually did was I actually started threading it on, and I used the bolt to fix it and kind of pull it down. And again, the biggest problems with this are tolerances. So pretty much whenever you're designing something like this in 123D Design or whatever, you want to account for PLA shrinking or, you know, expanding or whatnot, depending on the temperatures at which it cools. Like I said, this print was less than perfect. You can see it warped a little bit too. Focus on that. It warped a little bit, so up here is a little bit messed up. And again, you know, that's just something that happens when you work with this material. With the, you know, cooling, and it contracts, and so if your bed adhesion isn't great, it could start pulling up, and I think that's what happened here. But yeah, as far as what I need it to do, it serves those purposes. So it just screws on to the base, and it gives me a handle to more stably shoot, or if I want to do selfie mode, I have my thumb here so I can kind of stabilize the video and hopefully have a little bit of a less crazy shaky handle on the camera when I'm filming that way. Yeah, and this is, like I said, my old 3200. My new one, this screen actually flips out, so I can easily get a more better feel for what I'm shooting, and I can focus it with touchscreen. It's just all around a lot more friendly for filming for YouTube. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys liked it, enjoyed it. If you guys want the files, I will include a link to those down below. I plan on putting them on Thingiverse, so you guys can grab them there. If you guys are new here or you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. I do new videos when I can. I'm also a student, so I'm working on a master's degree. So sometimes life gets a little bit hectic and I can't update as frequently as I would like to. But yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and follow me, you guys can ding that bell, and then when I do a new video, you guys will be informed. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.